Hey y'all, welcome back. Today I want to share with you the books that I ended up reading in April. So grab a chair and let's get cozy. So April was actually one of the best reading months that I have had in a very, very long time. I would say possibly ever. I ended up reading 9 books in April, which is absolutely amazing for me. So I'm just going to go ahead and dive right into them because, like I said, there are a lot. The first book that I started off the month with is Love, Luck, and Lemon Pie. Love and Lemon Pie. I don't know why I always get that backwards. Luck, Love, and Lemon Pie by Amy E. Reichardt. And so just as a quick recap, because you can go back and actually hear me read the whole description. This is where wife and mother MJ feels like she's not really connecting with her husband Chris. He is spending too much time at the casino on the tables, and she wants to find a way to reconnect with him. So she ends up learning how to play poker as well, and goes to the casino, and she actually ends up really being really good at it, and ends up winning a trip to Vegas to play with a pro, which then kind of leads her astray from her ultimate goal, which was to reconnect with her husband. So this book was pretty good. It was not exactly what I was expecting. It was a little bit more not heavy on the romance, even though it was about rekindling a marriage. It wasn't heavy on the romance like I expected it to be. Definitely like a one flame romance if you wanted to read a romance that isn't truly super romantic. I would definitely recommend this to somebody who wanted to read a light romance. But otherwise, it wasn't my favorite. I liked the Amy's other book, which I'm blanking on now. It was about an apple orchard. So I liked that one better than this one, but still overall a great book. I rated it 4 stars. The next book that I read in April is The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. This is about Lo, who is a travel journalist, and when her boss I don't think she's fallen ill. I think she might be pregnant. But in any case, she can't go on this luxury cruise ship. It's basically opened for exclusively the wealthy investors or travel agents or people having to do with travel, so they can then promote this luxury cruise liner. So Lo goes on this cruise liner, and she witnesses a woman being thrown overboard. So this is the story of Lo trying to get justice for this woman that she swears has been thrown overboard, and nobody believes her. And so yeah, that is this book. So I really wanted it, and again, this is in my quarantine TBR. So I really, really, really wanted to love this book because, one, I have found out that I really like thrillers where the characters are isolated. So this book where they're on a luxury cruise liner, No Exit by Taylor Adams, where they're stuck in a snowstorm at a rest stop. To be honest, I think those are some of the only ones that I can recall off the top of my head that are like this. But I really enjoy that, where they're kind of stuck to deal with it on their own without outside help. So I kind of like that trope. So I really wanted to like this one, especially because it was on the luxury cruise liner. I brought it with me on our cruise, and I couldn't get into it at first, and I think I've already said that in the quarantine TBR video. So I'm going to try to repeat myself, but so much. I did end up getting this a 4 stars. By the time that I got into it and they got onto the cruise liner and I started getting into that, I got a little bit more interested, and there were definitely some twists and turns. But I'm really I gave this book a shot because of the tropes that I liked and everything. But I really wanted to try out Ruth Ware book, a Ruth Ware book. So I'm hoping that this that it'll get better, not it, that I will like her other books more. I'm gonna give it another shot because otherwise it's like it's just okay. Like again, if you like those type of trips that I like, then you would probably enjoy this book. But otherwise, it's kind of like the Luck, Love, and Lemon Pie. It was good. I enjoyed reading it, but would I truly recommend it to somebody else? I might, but I wouldn't like sing its praises all over the land. So the third book that I read in April is The Astronaut Wives Club. And I was so excited to read this book. In my, most of these are from my quarantine TBR because I was trying to read through the books that I wanted to get through during the month. But in any case, so I cut out a lot of talking about this book because I really wanted to read it, and I just have this weird fascination with the 1950s and women in that time period, and just the community they formed with each other that I don't feel like we have now as women, like the closeness in neighborhoods and blah blah blah, whatever. I'm just fascinated with it. So I was super excited to read this, especially considering that they are a group of women that were kind of forced to be close with each other. And it really left me wanting more. So I enjoyed the story. You get to meet all of the wives from the Mercury 7 through the Apollos and all of them. And it's very interesting, especially because this is a nonfiction. So obviously, so you can actually like look through and like find pictures of these women on Google and everything. So it's really cool, but I feel like it wasn't a story. And I don't know if that's because I am used to reading fiction and getting like a true like storyline, where this was a lot of just like quotes that were not quotes, but like snippets of stories strung together in a basically like linear timeline. So if something happened in like May of 1960 or whatever year it is, whether it's with one family and then we go to the next family, like it's gonna be linear. It's not just gonna go through like one family's like timeline, or I guess I'm just not a fan of the writing, maybe is the way I'm trying to say it. That I wanted to learn more about these women, and I still rated it a 4-star because this is the only book that I could find that truly like focuses on the women behind the astronauts. So like, especially during that time, they thought that the women should take care of the house while their man, whether in the military or an astronaut or wherever, was out working. And while I know that would probably make many women upset these days, it's something that I find fascinating. So I wanted to learn more about it, more about how they like dealt with things, and it gave a little bit, but it really left me wanting more, I think is what I'm saying. So 4-star read. If you want to learn more about this, definitely pick this book up. But otherwise, again, it was more of a fascination for me. The fourth book in April was my first 5-star read, and this was part of, I guess you'll actually see me probably read all of these books, because this one was part of the Stay Home Reading Rush, which I vlogged. So you actually see me talk about this, the Lemon Sisters. This is where Brooke and Mindy are sisters, and Brooke is kind of more of the wild child. She has her life together, but just not in like the traditional sense of settling down, family, blah, blah, blah. And Mindy has gotten her life together on the outside, but on the inside, she is like just tearing apart because it's just a little too much with 3 small children and a husband that works all the time. He's a doctor, and so he's running his own clinic, and it's just a mess. And she has just had a nervous breakdown. So Brooke switches place with Mindy so Mindy can stay in her apartment in the city, I think it's LA, while Brooke goes back to Wildstone. This is part of the Wildstone series. So Brooke goes back to Wildstone, takes care of the kids, kind of starts getting things in order, ends up like meeting a old flame from when she lived there growing up, and it's just a cute romance. I absolutely love Jill Chavez's books. Definitely 5 stars. This was honestly the best Wildstone that I've read so far, in my opinion. Granted, they're all great. Like, I loved them all, but this is definitely, like, if I could give it like 6 or 7 stars, if that was like a rating, I would totally do that. But definitely recommend this one. And she always features like a cute dog somewhere on the cover, so that's the cute doggy. Okay. Yes, 4th book. So the 5th book is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Again, you saw me reading this in the Stay Home Reading Rush. So Alex goes to Yale to join a secret society that keeps an eye and makes sure nothing goes wrong with the magical secret societies. Her society is not... It doesn't delve into magic like the other ones, so she keeps an eye, and it ends up being kind of a mystery for this. I don't really, without actually like reading the cover, I don't want to give too much of it away, but it is kind of fantasy with magic, and I guess technically maybe not really young adult because they're college aged, but in any case, I really enjoyed this. I ended up giving this, I think it was 5 star, maybe a 4 star, but I really enjoyed it, and I think there's going to be a second book. This was also a 5 star, so I think there's going to be a second book, maybe a whole series, or I don't know if it's just a duology, I don't know, but I would probably read the next one, and I've actually already recommended this to a friend, so definitely a good book. If you want to hear more of my thoughts, I did more of a in-depth wrap up for that Stay Home Reading Rush, so I will link that up above so you can go back and watch that. But yeah, definitely enjoyed this book. Like I said, it was the second 5 star of the month. So this whatever book we're on, I think this is the 6th book that I read this month, is my last physical copy. All of the others I read or I listened to an audiobook. This book is The Flight Girls by Noelle Salazar. I believe this was also in my quarantine TBR because I had wanted to read this quite a while ago, I think in November, and it just kept getting pushed out and pushed out. For whatever reason, I think when I look at a book and I'm like, oh, it's historical fiction, I'm like, I'm not really sure that I want to read that. Like, who wants to like read stuff about history? But then every time I pick up a book that's historical fiction, especially around World War II, I love it. Like, just come on, Ashley, future Ashley, just listen to this video and pick it up. Pick up the book. It'll be great. So this one was definitely, no doubt, 5 star. I loved it. It made me cry. I think I laughed during parts of it. I'm not sure. So Audrey Coltrane, I just love her name. Coltrane? Yeah, Audrey Coltrane is a pilot, and she is in Hawaii when the attacks on Pearl Harbor happened. She's actually flying in the air, and she has met a beau. They claim they're just friends, but they're not. So she's met a beau, and he's also flying in the air at the time that the attack happens, and they actually get chased by the Japanese flying and being shot at, and so she helps both of them get back down to the ground, and from there they leave Hawaii. She's not in the army. That wasn't a thing for women back then, or the Air Force, or whatever branch of the military. She's not in the military. She is just there to teach the military pilots what they need to know about flying, but it's not affiliated, somehow not affiliated with the military. I'm not exactly sure how that happened, how that works out, but in any case, she comes back to the mainland US with Lieutenant James Hart is his name. She comes back to the US with James, and he ends up going over to the war because he is in the military, so he's a pilot. He goes off to the war in Europe, and she ends up joining the WASP team, so it's women that train on military planes, and they transport them they transported them all around the US during the wartime to get planes that were like used in action and needed to be repaired. They would be repaired, and then the women would fly them to the next base so they could be reused in the war, or new planes would be flown to various bases around the US to get ready again to be flown overseas to the war. I don't know why this is giving me a hard time like coming out, but in any case, it's a absolutely beautiful love story. It's basically a love story that happens during the war. And number one, I'm glad that I read this book because it is so amazing to hear the strength and the courage of women back then to step up and do what needed to be done. These women who stepped up to become crop dusters, those low planes that fly over to spray stuff over the crops. They were just like pilots for fun, and when the men had to go off to war, they stepped up and became crop dusters. They did anything possible just to help out on the home front while the men were off at war. So to hear these women that stepped out to be in the WASP program, that they kind of got mistreated, not physically, but more of emotionally. There was a scene in the book, and I don't think I'm giving anything away with this, so if you don't want to hear this little scene, I will put the time down here that you can skip forward to. But there was a scene where Audrey and one of her friends, also in the WASP program, are flying these two planes out to Virginia, and they're trying to radio in saying that they are requesting like access to land, and at first they kind of blow them off and they don't respond, and then they radio back in and say, you know, if you don't let us land, we're gonna have to land somewhere else because we're running out of fuel. And they said, get off of this radio channel, we're trying to get in contact with these two planes up in the air that need to land. And she's like, we are those planes. They just little things like that where the men didn't think that women could be flying, that they could be doing this. So it was really interesting to hear that. Again, beautiful love story. I truly loved it. I wanted to like read more and more and more, even after the book was done. So yeah, that was that book. 5-star read again. Okay, so the next couple of books are in a series by Demi Macomber. It is the Cedar Cove series. So the first book in that series is 16 Lighthouse Road. That address actually belongs to Olivia, which is a judge in the town. And this story revolves around her life as a judge, to some degree, but then it also revolves around one of the cases that she has come before her in her courtroom, which is a young couple, Cecilia and Ian. They have recently lost a child, and just the pain of that loss, they want to get a divorce, but Olivia rules that the divorce is denied and they have to work it out. She wants to see that they have made an attempt before that she will actually allow them to divorce. So this is the just cute, wholesome story around Olivia and then that couple. Granted, they don't actually like mingle. It's Olivia's life separate from that young couple. But you kind of get to know the town's people and everything going through this story. So the second book is 204 Rosewood Lane, and it surrounds Olivia's best friend Grace, who is a librarian. This one is surrounding Grace's difficulties with her husband. Her husband just walks out of her life, and she's forced to kind of pick up the pieces and figure out what's going on. Grace then shares her grief with her two daughters, and the two daughters come in the picture and we learn more about them. Again, this is just a wholesome story. That is one of the things that I love about Demi Macomber's books. She writes just wholesome, like Hallmark type of stories. So if you're in for like a good quick read, I think I read both of those books in like probably a 24-hour period. It was over 2 days, but I think I finished them within 24 hours. They're just super fun and quick and wholesome and just make you like leave you feeling good afterward. And as far as ratings, I gave 16 Lighthouse Road a 5-star and 204 Rosewood Lane a 4-star. So moving on, the last book that I read for April is How to Be Yourself, Quiet Your Inner Critic, and Rise Above Social Anxiety by Ellen Hendrickson. So this was obviously a nonfiction. I don't really suffer with anxiety, but I would say it's more situational anxiety. I had some like big things at work that were just giving me a lot of anxiety, so I wanted something to read to kind of help me cope with it, whatever. And I really got some great tips out of it. I would definitely recommend it if you suffer with anxiety or just social situations. Those are the books that I ended up reading in April. How did you do reading? Did you read anything? Let me know in the comments below how your month went, and I will see y'all in the next video. Bye, guys.